What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel, and to probably the most popular series here with Team of the Week predictions, this time around for match week 41. And now this squad is offering some pretty decent players all around, similar to last week, with some pretty average players in there as well. Now I know that most of you are probably thinking that the Team of the Week means very little at this stage, if anything whatsoever. And it's probably best to focus on other things as we move into FIFA 21 and, the football season of 2021. But I love a good excuse to talk about football, as I said in last week's episode, and what's more, I gotta try and keep the content coming, to build some momentum and whatnot. So just before we get on with the actual players and basically everything I have in mind, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That would mean a lot. And share the video, possibly even the channel with your mates. It'd mean the world to me. And with all that being said, I will get on with the actual video now. Now, as always, we will start with a few select bench players. One's worthy of informs, but not so much the starting 11. That's usually down to their regular cards, often being silvers or just very low gold. And overall their ratings just don't really make the team. As you can see on screen, most of these cards really wouldn't get into anyone's team. I go as far as to say maybe even the goalkeeper, being the highest rated there, wouldn't get in absolutely anyone's teams. But it's always nice to pack like a 10k player in a rubbish 5k pack or whatever, and these guys deserve recognition for how they've played in real life. A lot of big performances this week as we get on with the players. Now I'm going to start with the Italian shot stopper Cragno, as he played outstanding in the game. I believe he kept the clean sheet. It came very close to conceding, and I think it was because of his top flight performance that his team didn't actually suffer in the game. Similar to the centre back right next to him, this guy, I don't know much about him, as with a lot of these players, and so I won't go over it too much, but just know that he probably will be in the squad as well as Trezeguet for Aston Villa, a player who I actually think is pretty decent. Him and El Ghazi, I believe his name is, they're two pretty decent players, I'd say. Now, McGoldrick, we probably should talk about his brace against Chelsea to really help out the other teams, rivals in the top 4 race. Of course, neither teams actually took advantage of it, thanks to the next guy in Dominic Solanke for his contributions in Bournemouth's 4-1 win against Leicester. And of course, Man United also suffered a loss of points, getting the draw against Southampton. But it really should have been a draw, The team, they kind of crumbled at the moment that Bruno and Pogba came off, and I guess that's kind of what happens when they're the foundation of the team. Anyways, we'll move on to the actual starting 11 with the goalkeeper spot. We do have Nick Pope for his stellar performances over the last few games, not just the most recent one. But obviously it does include that, as Burnley did most recently win. And Pope is really good, and it's between him and Dean Henderson for the England spot, I'd say. They should definitely both be taken to international tours and given both their good run. Dean Henderson, absolutely amazing. Do believe that he's owned by Man United. He's just out on loan, which is kind of a shame because he's a really good replacement for De Gea. But less about him and more about Pope, who is another player who is quite heavily linked with a lot of big teams over his pretty amazing campaign for Burnley. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I do believe he will be in the team. There obviously are other goalkeeper candidates, but I went for them too. Him on the bench, and then obviously him in the starting 11. And as we move on to the defence, with a back three of Fazio, Alderweireld, and Ruben Peña. I don't know too much about Ruben. I know that he plays in the La Liga, though I do believe he also kept the clean sheet, as the team are actually, quite a solid team. They have a lot of good players, and I don't believe he has a special card yet this year. And so, it's nice for him that he's got his first special card right at the end of the year, but it doesn't really matter. And then Fazio is a player who everyone knows of, but since he went to Roma, you don't really hear much about him. And yeah, of course, Fazio, after he left the Premier League and went to Roma, I wasn't too sure if he'd ever get mentioned again, but this week, he was, I'd say, in the limelight. I was mixed between picking him or Mkhitaryan for the Roma spot, as they obviously did win their game. But I'm kind of unsure because I kind of need defenders. We're always pretty short on defensive players, as it's hard to, show the spotlight on people who don't really bag the goals and they just keep the clean sheets, and it's more of a tackle success rate and clearances and whatnot. More like intricate details about how they play. Anyways, we'll move on. Having the defence and the goalkeeper discussed, we will move on to midfielders up next, consisting of Eva Banega of Sevilla, Arturo Vidal of Barcelona, and Mohamed Salah as a neat little upgrade on his headliner card. Obviously, he did get the 4 wins in a row, and he has got a lot of special cards throughout the year. And it's all performance based, so good on him. And you can see his headliner would be very high rated. And we'll kind of rival his team of the season. People would be very happy packing that. Though I don't believe he's in the best of anymore. He was. So if you did pack him, well, I mean, lucky you. And if you did hold on to him, even luckier. Maybe you got him untradeable or whatever. But he's obviously a very good player with his own animations and whatnot. So he will be very good in game. Vidal has a lot of special cards. Promos, I'd say. And I say a lot, but more than most, as he does have a footmas and a flashback. And possibly even, I'm not too sure, but he is a very good player. Everyone knows it. But he also likes to try and get at other teams on social media, and so he's kind of disliked over the last couple of years. Even a lot of Barcelona fans are quite disliked with him. I don't know, I kind of like him, and he's got a unique hairstyle, so you got to give him that. Either way, Vidal moving to Barcelona, it was always a tricky situation, and now he's not the only player to have moved from Juventus to the Barcelona team. Obviously with the most recent Pjanic transfer, though I do believe Vidal is probably a better player than Pjanic. Anyways, I'm just rambling on, as I didn't really write too much down in terms of what to talk about. But I am excited to, finally get all these Team of the Week predictions things back up and running, with football back up and running itself. And it feels nice. It's kind of nice to, resort back to what I was doing before, where I was actually having a lot of fun doing it. And so we'll move on to the attack now, having, mentioned the midfield, defence, goalkeeper and bench. Here, as you can see on screen, we do have another headliner upgrade in Sterling, as well as Rebic, Antonio and Nani to discuss as well. It's nice to see players who maybe aren't always in the spotlight, or maybe their names aren't mentioned as much. For example, Mikel Antonio. But he has been a bit of a FIFA beast for several years. And maybe he's not so much meta, but it's nice to see him get his first special card at year. Again, like it's the last special card he'll probably get for this year. And Nani, who has a better card, so sadly you're not really going to see anyone use him. Rebic, who I do believe did have a footmas card, but this is going to be better, and I'm sure they're going to be nice with the upgrades in case any AC Milan fans might want to pick him. And of course Sterling, who's the best player on this screen at the moment. Him and Salah are obviously going to be the standout players in this squad, but both of them players have headliners, funnily enough, and are both going to get upgraded pretty nicely. And of course Man City could, go on with their run and maybe get that upgrade on him. I'm pretty sure they haven't got it yet, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets the 4 wins in a row, and he obviously gets this Team of the Week and maybe another one. We'll have to see in the remaining games, but he definitely deserves one this week, and it's quite a nice card. Despite there being a lot of Premier League wingers this year, it would be nice to pack him. I'm sure he would be worth a decent chunk, especially his headliner. And yeah, that's pretty much me discussing absolutely everything I have to on this team. I didn't go into the nitty gritty stuff about like the score lines and goal contributions, as I'm running a bit late on this upload, and I'm sure that you've probably found me to ramble on a bit this video, but I'm just happy to be back and doing the predictions as usual, and I hope to carry it on. So if you enjoyed, leave a like and comment down below on what you think they're going to do in terms of promos for next year. A lot of special cards this year round means that they may have just, drained it a little bit. And I guess we'll just have to see, because supposedly loot boxes aren't going to be a thing anymore, which means FIFA points will be out the window. That's a completely other discussion for a completely different video. So I'm just going to sign off here. If you enjoyed the video, like I said, leave a like. And I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.